So, yeah, welcome. Very excited. I think this is going to be fun. Let's hope. And yeah, let's jump right into it. There's a question I get since moving to the Julia programming language. Why? And I get that a lot. And I think I start this workshop here not with the concepts of unfold and syntax or blah blah blah, but I just like the bigger picture of why did I move, and a little bit about the Julia programming language. So why Julia? Julia is a programming language that is free. I come from a MATLAB background. I programmed the original Unfold is in MATLAB. But at some point, you have your own lab, and then suddenly MATLAB can be really expensive. So it's free, has other benefits, open source, etc. Right? The syntax was for me relatively easy, and I hope you will also not struggle too much with it. Please ask lots of questions. We have plenty of people to help out. But the syntax is relatively close to R, MATLAB, Python, so stuff that we in our community, I think, mostly use. There's a downside. It does not have as many packages as other languages because it's relatively young. But there's an upside. It's extremely easy to call Python packages. So there's a really, or R packages also. There's a really awesome package. It's like 10 lines of code that allows you just to use all of M&E just in Julia. It's really amazing. Even with plotting, etc., all the things work. Julia also has an inbuilt reproducible package management. I hope that by now everybody understands how important it is to have a reproducible workflow. And Julia just basically has Conda inbuilt, and it just works, and it's not slow, and I really like it. Maybe the thing that Julia is most famous for is that it's actually allows you to code very fast code. So it allows you to match the speed of C or Fortran without actually changing the programming language. There's this joke of how do you make Python fast? You stop using Python, you use C++ instead. And that's what actually happening. There are big packages that are 80% C++. And the problem, of course, then is we are all not computer scientists, not research software engineers or something like this. So if we hack together our small code and we want to share it, it's probably going to be slow, or it's probably going to be in C++, and then nobody else knows C++ and can maintain it. So this is the two language problem that you want to have. On the one side, you have one language that is high level, as MATLAB or R or Python, and the other one is something that's fast that allows you to do all kind of optimization. And in Julia, you just have both. And that, yeah, as a toolbox writer, this is really amazing. You don't have this np.diff, np-mult thingy from Python. It's like in MATLAB, everything is just natively linear algebra is just inbuilt. You can do fancy characters. I really like to have that as well. So the algorithms, they have all the same names, etc. It's really nice. And yeah, as a developer, coming from MATLAB, I guess every language is great in that sense, but you have unit testing, you have documentation, all these things that are easy to use, and there's a nice inbuilt thing. And to highlight this point of speed, just one plot here. So this is a bunch of differential equations. And you can see in colored, implemented in different languages. And this is not a point of, oh, there's a better implementation or better algorithm or something like this. These are really partially like this Fortran C code. They are made for that, very much that problem. And Julia can still blow them out of any leak, right? In this case, there are more, obviously Julia is not the fastest language for everything. That's not the point. The point I think you should take home is it is possible to write very fast code in Julia. And who does not want to have the result immediately instead of waiting 2 hours for your cluster permutation test to finish or something like that? Let's also ask the people who created Julia what was their goal. So they wanted to have it open source. We have that. They want to have the speed of C. They want to have an obvious familiar mathematical notation like MATLAB. They want to be, in principle, able to have as general programming as Python. They want to have the easy statistics of R and the powerful linear algebra as MATLAB. And they also want to be able to glue programs together as a shell. So they just wanted to have everything. They wanted to be greedy. And yeah, I think they succeeded, and I really like Julia. It's just a fun programming language. There was an event, though, that started of how I even arrived at Julia. Not only was I a little bit annoyed about the MATLAB tooling, which is really terrible, but I dabble a lot around with mixed models. And here's just a comparison. So this is calling R from Julia actually, but the overhead is minimal for just any linear mixed model. If you don't know what this is, it's just something that takes time to run a statistical model. It takes 1.5 seconds. And in Julia, it just takes 30 milliseconds. So it can be, in my experience, up to 100 times faster. And this is what I'm interested in. Yeah, you can do much more things, especially if you want to fit in a linear mixed model. So each time point, you don't have to wait ages for it to finish. It's just 100 times faster. Awesome. Little bit of things maybe that are helpful to know if you're switching to Julia. So it's just some oddities. In MATLAB, if you come from MATLAB, you know that you can broadcast things. So you can write a dot plus, and then it will do the element-wise addition. In Julia, you can also do that. You even have to do it. It doesn't automatically, like MATLAB sometimes do it. So if you want to add element-wise these two vectors, then you need to write a dot. It means to broadcast or element-wise. But the cool thing is you can also do that for any other function. So if I want to apply this function to 1, to 2, and to 3 independently from each other and then collect it back again, you can do that for any function. Oh, and here there should also be a dot. Now I missed myself, because you could also do it for inbuilt function, for any function, right? So that's nice. There's one oddity, maybe you'll stumble upon it today, maybe not. But if you ever want to concatenate a string, you need a multiplication. And the idea is that multiplication in terms of matrix notation multiplication, you cannot just switch the order as you can with the plus, right? And for string concatenation, you can also, yeah, okay. It's a bit weird. I don't know. You just need to know it. It's a little bit like if you do if or for, etc. It's like in MATLAB, if and end. One nice thing that threw me off a lot and when I was starting to learn Python is that you never know when some object is modified in memory, so in place, which is a nice thing that MATLAB can't do, but it's very helpful. And in Julia, by convention, you always add this exclamation mark. So if you're modifying something in place, then this will be a modification. So let's say you create a model and then you want to fit the model, and you don't actually assign it and need to assign it anything because the data is changed in this object of M. Julia can be as programmed as dumb as MATLAB at times, but it also has is smart and has this like maybe if you come from R, this kind of object-oriented, like it's not really objects. I shouldn't say that, but for our purpose, I think this is fine. And here are just some commands, like you can find out what type your certain variables have, what kind of methods are available for that, or what kind of field names you have to discover a little bit of structure. And finally, I mentioned this, if you want to be fancy, you want to have this kind of LaTeX style characters, you just write \LaTeX commands like gamma, whatever, and you can press tab, and it will autocomplete to something like that. That will works pretty much everywhere. Okay, this is what I wanted to say to the Julia. So what is Unfold, right? That's a big question. In the first place, I guess you're all kind of familiar, else you would have not registered. And I think the big insight maybe is that every ERP you have ever done is kind of already a regression. And so if it's a regression, why not just use regression in the first place? And Unfold is a toolbox that supports you in making this step relatively easy so that you can apply a regression to each of your time points, to each of your channel, and then yeah, deal with all the conceptual issues that regressions have, but you at least moved one, generalized one step from your averaging from your ERP. So you can really, like this is the way I also think mostly of it, think of Unfold as the step that replaces the mean function that you typically do to calculate your ERPs, right? And then afterwards, you will again get something like an ERP, like you get after the mean function. But well, the intermediate step is a little bit more complex. There are these two papers that I will recommend to read. This is the Smith and Kutas paper on which kind of introduces this regression ERP framework. And there's, of course, also our Unfold paper that you can also read, also gives, I think, a nice introduction, but this is the OG thing. And then if you want to go for something, if you're more from auditory or so, temporal response functions are a concept that is extremely close to our ERPs, but I will not discuss it much later. If you have specific questions, happy to discuss them as well. So there's this Unfold toolbox. there's a MATLAB release, and I briefly want to talk to this. This is work we did with Olaf. We spent many hours figuring out all the ways we wanted to do things. Right now, we are mostly fixing bugs. So if you have a new feature in MATLAB, please feel free to make a pull request and say, oh, this is this cool new feature. I want to add it. We will happy to support you. But we are right now not actively developing this. And in the Julia version is actively developed. And by now, we have more than 20 contributors to our family, Toolbox family, to our ecosystem. So thanks a lot for everyone who's doing work here, developing, raising issues, also contribution, just providing feedback is also contribution. So thanks a lot. And sorry if you don't appear here. I don't have a central list. Unfold.jl ecosystem. We have this really nice documentation website now where we are collecting all the tools that we have. Right, you can check it out maybe after the talk or during the exercise or something like this. Right, so you will find plenty of information, also a little bit of general overview of other rERP packages you can do. And here is a little bit the whole family, how it's going. Yeah, there's this main toolbox, I would say. This is the Unfold.jl toolbox, which has most of the features and some more from the MATLAB Unfold. It can be put on the GPU, right, where it's over 100 times faster. So even big models can now be run in less than a minute. So this was one of my goals to do. You can run it from Python as well. Not everything is as smooth as from Julia, but it's absolutely possible. There are tutorials, and you have the real marginal effects, which I think is an awesome feature. You also have a mixed models package. There will be 5-minute lightning talks at the end of today in the afternoon about this toolbox here, about our plotting library. This is from Vladimir Mikev. We will have a lightning talk. Judith has even 2 toolboxes, but just one lightning talk. There's like a stats toolbox that gives some tutorials of how you could continue on with your data. But her main work is on Unfold Sim. Simulation toolbox, which we will use throughout the workshop in a hidden way, and she will also have a spotlight on that. And then we already have an Unfold Bits tool, so you can run it. If you have a bits data set, you should be able to run this relatively simple and fast, thanks to René. We also started to have some overlap-corrected decoding code. This is a little bit more work in progress, but there are 2 algorithms now implemented, which I think are interesting, but we have to really, like we as a community, have to look more into how we can actually do this properly. If you want to move to Julia, right, we are always happy to support any transitions to it. An ecosystem lives by the community, and so we are happy to grow this. And this is one of our steps of how we try to do it, giving this kind of workshop. So this is close to the finish of my introduction here. So what's up on today's agenda, right? We will deal with Unfold.jl. We will deal with this formula here. Don't worry, we will have a slide later on this. We will also deal a little bit with eye movements and brain, because this is my viewpoint of how I even reached to regression ERPs. So the first big point is regression ERPs. What is that even? And of course, it's the future of ERP analysis, right? No, I mentioned it before, it's a generalization, so that's nice. And then we will have an exercise that you all going to do. We will have a break, and then we're going to go for the second part, which is continuous predictors and marginal effects. So this is really of finding the power in breaking all the boundaries you have and how you think about what kind of EG experiments can be done, because continuous predictors are notoriously difficult to analyze just using means, and you need more powerful things, right? Afterwards, we will go one step further. Instead of just continuous predictors, we will have nonlinear continuous predictors, right? So this is even cooler. I have the small animation here where we fit either in linear or then even a nonlinear effect to the data. All of them work, but only one of them is correct. And I think if you work with continuous predictors, it will be rare that you actually find a real linear relationship. It's will be most of the time it will be a mix of several different things, maybe. Yeah. Finally, this is like the main working horse, I would say. This is the overlap correction, because if you are in this framework, it allows you to push it even one step further and look at completely new data sets. I mentioned eye movements before. This is what we will be doing. But you will, like, even if you have a very simple EEG experiment where you have a stimulus and a response, then already you have overlap between the activity of the response and the activity the stimulus generates. So you already have to take care of that. If there are already questions to this first part, maybe about Julia or I don't know. Yeah, so it's real that Julia is so cool. There are minuses I have not been talking about. One of the minuses that Julia is a compiled language. What that means is that whenever it sees some of your code for the very first time, it takes a little bit, it takes a while to well, first figure out what you're going to do until it makes it fast. The second time you're going to do something, then it's going to be fast in the first time. That means that whenever you start a new Julia process, like a new notebook, if you had, or a new, well, just a Julia process, then loading a package the first time will take much more than you are used to from MATLAB or from Python, which is a more interpreted language, right? So this is one of the stumbling stones, I think, that people, it got much better, but you cannot just open Julia and then immediately plot something. You need to wait, I don't know, 10 seconds or something. By now, it's not that bad. If you have a lot of packages, it can be a minute that you need to wait, but yeah. And the question for Tara, yes, you understood correctly. There's also a MATLAB toolbox. It also has unit tests and documentation, etc. Yeah, but as I said, there are more and newer feature in the Julia one, and they both they have similar principles, and they have also the MATLAB toolbox has some benefits. I think that it's a little bit harder to reproduce in Julia, right? It goes both ways.